And now for a look at the Greek of Acts 15, 1 through 7, I believe it is today. This week we're going to focus on the Jerusalem Council. So Paul and Barnabas have gotten back from their first missionary journey. And during that missionary journey, it's clear that they've sensed a calling to the Gentiles. This is not what the mission journey necessarily started out as when Antioch sends them in Acts 13. And so you can expect there's going to be some controversy when they get back. John Mark has been back for perhaps a year, maybe more than a year, and he's been telling people, hey, they're going to the Gentiles and Paul's taking charge. We don't know exactly what John Mark might be saying, but he's probably told them aplenty. And so this is a conflict waiting to happen, that the Gentiles are coming in. What does that mean? What rules do they have to follow? I mean, to the Jews, it's clear what a Jew needs to be, what a Jew needs to do. But to a Gentile, what does a Gentile need to do in order to be saved? And further, how do Jews and Gentiles relate to each other? Because that's a new question. All these things had established answers and established positions. But now this new dynamic of the Gentiles has been introduced in, and so it makes sense the church would have to come to some conclusions. And we'll talk a little bit about this on Saturday for patrons in relation to Galatians and Acts and fitting those two together. Okay, so let's do the Greek now, 15:1. And certain, indefinite pronoun, certain having come down from Judea, so this is a participle, elth. Elth should tell you something. Epsilon, lambda, theta, what does it tell you? It tells you it's the aorist of a form of erchomai, in particular, kat erchomai, to go down. So aorist, my aunt, is an active participle, so it's aorist, active participle. S is nominative masculine plural, so it's an aorist, active participle, nominative masculine plural from kat erchomai, to go down. So because it's aorist, I'm going to translate it having gone down. And certain, having gone down from Judea, they were teaching the apostles. They were teaching the brothers, they were teaching the brothers. Now, what is this? Didasko is a word you learn early on in Greek. It means to teach. It has an augment, but all the letters of didasko are there. So it's the present stem with an augment. What tense is that? It's imperfect. They were teaching, continuous flavor to the past tense. They were teaching the brothers, quote, so with a capital letter and a hoti, this is a quote. If not you be circumcised by the law of Moses, not you are able to be saved. So eon me, if not, is an idiom that means unless or except. So unless is a fine translation. You be circumcised. Okay, theta eta tells me what? Aorist passive, that's right. And there's no augment here. And eon introduces a conditional clause that has a subjunctive in it. So the fact that eon is used told me that I was going to have a subjunctive, and I'm not disappointed. That eta is the fried vowel is what tells you it's a subjunctive, although there's already an eta in theta eta anyway. The circumflex says there's a lot of friedness here, a lot of length. Maybe I'm making it up. But te is you plural. So unless you be circumcised, this is aorist passive subjunctive is the name of the mood. On takes the subjunctive. Unless you should be circumcised by the custom of Moses, according to the custom of Moses. This is dative. Not you are able, present active indicative, to be saved. Aorist passive, right? Theta eta, aorist passive, infinitive. So you're not able to be saved unless you be circumcised according to the law of Moses. This is a understandable position to take, right? It's in Scripture. It's in the Old Testament. It says that the people of God get circumcised. And of course, it's long been a custom in American Christianity, as I said in the podcast, to circumcise children. Although it's very clear from Galatians, it is simply not required. There is, in fact, Galatians tells, in Galatians, Paul tells the Galatians that they will fall from grace, from God's grace, if they get circumcised. So the Bible is not in favor of circumcision for Gentiles, although I think in our day and age, it's fine. It's not the same kind of issue now that it was then. But we are not to require it. It's very biblical, very clear. Circumcision not required. And a controversy, a stasis, a controversy having arisen. What kind of a construction is that? Noun in the genitive, participle in the genitive, genitive absolute. Luke likes this. So a argument having come to be. Gen tells me what tense? In this case, it tells me it's aorist. This is the aorist participle. Men are passive participles or middle, but this is deponent. Gen, oh my. So it's aorist, middle deponent or passive. Yeah, let's go with middle because theta eta would be involved if it were passive. So aorist, middle deponent, participle, genitive, feminine, singular. Okay, so a controversy having arisen, a controversy and a debate, two genitives here, both go with this. Controversy and a debate having arisen, not a little, understatement, a big controversy with Paul and Barnabas toward them. Okay, they instructed Paul and Barnabas to go up. So this is an aorist, active, indicative, third plural. C is the key to hidden sigma alpha, it's aorist. From tasso, to order or command, or to put in order, or to appoint. So they appointed to go up, present active infinitive, Paul and Barnabas to go up, and certain others. So there are other, this control group, Luke and the control groups, to show that it's not just them, they're witnesses and other representatives. From them to the apostles and the elders into Jerusalem concerning this issue. Zetema. Okay. Apostles and elders, structure of the church. Let's keep going. Therefore, on the one hand, they, the article before men or de can mean he, she, it, or they. It can turn into a personal pronoun. It's an idiom. Therefore, they, having been sent before, sent ahead by the church. Theta epsilon tells me what? Aorist passive. Unt tells me it's participle. The passive of theta epsilon trumps my aunt is an active participle. So this is an aorist passive participle, nominative masculine plural from propempo, to send ahead. Therefore, on the one hand, they, having been sent ahead, having because it's aorist, been because it's passive, sent because it's propempo, ahead, by the church agency, they went through both Phoenicia and Samaria, narrating present deponent participle, the turning of the Gentiles, the conversion of the Gentiles, the epistrophe, and they were making great joy, imperfect of poieo, because it's the letters of poieo with an augment, to all the brothers. So most people were happy about this. Verse 4. And having arrived, this is gen, so what tense is it? It's aorist in this particular case. It's an aorist middle deponent participle, because paragenomai, it's deponent. So it's a present, an aorist middle deponent participle, nominative masculine plural. And having arrived in Jerusalem, they were received by the church and the apostles and the elders. Okay? This theta eta tells me what? Aorist passive. There's an augment, it's aorist passive indicative. Son tells me it's third plural. They were received. And they announced as many things as, hosa, as many as, and it's neuter plural alpha, so things, as many things as God did with them. Sen. You've memorized sen by now? That's right. Aorist active indicative third singular from something past, aorist, so it's poieo, did. This is aorist too. I for a second I thought to myself, is this imperfect or is it aorist? But it's lost one of its lambdas, right? And it has internal lengthening. So it's not the present stem with an augment, which would be imperfect. It's aorist. Okay, they announced as many things as, a correlative there, God did with them. Okay, but, or de can mean and or but, I'm going to go with a but here. But certain of the ones from the sect of the Pharisees who had believed, and I talk about this in the podcast, they saw themselves as still Pharisees, because the perfect tense here, well, okay, maybe, yeah. Anyway, they'd still believed. Never mind. That point's maybe, I said something that maybe is not quite right about them still being Pharisees from this tells me that they still believed. It doesn't tell me they're still Pharisees, but I think the context wants us to see them as still Pharisees. Stason, this is aorist of exanistemi. Son is third plural. Okay. And certain rose up from the sect of the Pharisees who had believed. This is a perfect active participle, okay, noun masculine plural, saying, present active participle, that, noun clause, it is necessary to circumcise them, present infinitive, and, procrastinator, to command to keep the law of Moses. So they take that position. Verse 6, and the apostles and the elders gathered together. They were gathered together. Theta eta tells me it's aorist passive. Sigma alpha son here. This doesn't tell, sa here doesn't tell me it's aorist. It's part of an ending, son, which is third plural. Theta eta is what tells me it's aorist. Aorist passive indicative, third plural from sun ago, to gather together. And the apostles and the elders were gathered together to see, aorist infinitive, it's aorist because of id. I've memorized id as the aorist of horao. Ain is an infinitive. In order to see, so it's an infinitive of purpose. That's why they're gathering together. They gathered together to see concerning this word, concerning this matter, verse 7. And a great strife having come to be, another genitive absolute, another aorist participle, noun in the genitive, having arisen, aorist participle, Peter spoke to them. He's going to tell. And so we're going to hear what he says, Lord willing, tomorrow. Aping an aorist, aorist of Lego. So that's the Greek for today. We're about to have one of the most important early decisions within the early church.